Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. It's a new day, another opportunity to make money in the market or to learn from the market. Let's say that, right? So let me go ahead and give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth in the stock market. It's just one of those avenues. This video is for educational purposes only, y'all. With that being said, let's get started. So we know we had an interesting day on yesterday. Let's go ahead and say that, but it's a new day. So how can we learn, or what can we learn today? What do we see today? I always try to start with the VIX. What is the VIX doing? Yesterday it hit the 1692. So today it seems to be going kind of sideways like everything else, or not really going anywhere. So we're waiting on some information to come out to decide if we're going to go higher or if we're going to go lower, right? So the market had a nice, Dow dropped over 500 points yesterday. We had a nice sell-off, right? So are we going to continue down, or are we going back to the upside? That's something to think about. So I always go and see where my trouble places, right? So the VIX is right here at the 5 EMA. To continue up, it will need to get above this 5 EMA, which is right here at 1654. Yeah. So if it breaks above 1654, we could very well continue to the upside. But right now, let's look at where it's going to the downside, because it's under the 5 EMA. So if we drop lower, it looks as if 1595 could be our ATR trailing stop on the 30-minute chart, which is right there at the 20 EMA, which makes sense, right? So if it falls down, this could be our support area, right? And let's go to a higher time frame to see if there's any. Yeah, so that 5 EMA, the 1647 is kind of like strong support, because that's the 5 EMA also on the 1 hour chart. So we will definitely need to watch those areas. And anything is possible. Let me say that. Anything is possible. So right now the VIX is just telling us that, you know what, we could go down or we could go up. Either or. Nothing is guaranteed in the market. I always like to say that. So let's go ahead and look at the SPY, right? So the SPY is, again, trading in this zone, trading in this area, and it has been for a while this morning, right? So that is very important to know, that these areas are support and resistance. Ever since the market has opened, we mark these gathering spots because that is support and resistance, right? So right now, the support for the SPY is around 514.20. and the resistance is around 514.72. So I mark those areas, and if we break past those areas, we've broken through levels of support and or resistance, right? And I always set my alerts, and sometimes the best trades for me are when, once it break out of this area. So that's something to think about. So to the upside, if we decide to go to the upside, we would need to, our trouble places are at 515.75, which is the 50 EMA. And again, we're looking at the 30-minute chart. If we break the 515.75, then our next level of resistance is at the 516.41, which is right here at the ATR trailing stop, right? And one thing to keep in mind, we could very well, go back to the 518.74. Anything is possible in the market, so don't rule it out. People think, well, hey, we had a nice sell-off, or even think that we're going to go back to the upside. That's not always the case, because if I'm not mistaken, yesterday we closed under the 20 EMA on the daily chart. We closed under the 20 EMA on the daily chart, which our next level of support could be this area here, which is the 510.25, which put us in a zone. It was strong support before. If we break that, we could very well come back to the 507.17. So there are places that we can come back to. And again, I always say trade what you see. Don't rush into your trades. Allow your trades to come to you and let you know, okay, this is the direction that I chose. And sometimes it's hard to get a clear direction as to what the market is doing, especially if you're using, say, for instance, this 5 minute. You can see the incline, gradually see the incline, but it's this here, and look at how your MACD is looking. Those are things that I pay attention to when I'm looking at my charts. Okay, the MACD is definitely giving me some up and down, sideways, things that I really don't trade. I wait until I get a clearer signal, and this is my area of no trade zone, right? So I'm waiting on this to break out of that. So I would definitely watch those areas for the SPY. Again, it can go in either direction, but right now the 514.20 and the 514.72 is our support and resistance, right? So let's look at Tesla. Tesla It's interesting because the market sold off yesterday, but Tesla still stayed above that 160. It didn't come back and test that 168, which is interesting. So the support area right now is at the 171.37 to the 172.26 being resistance, right? So that's our zone. That's our area of the gathering spot for Tesla at this point. And where our trouble places. If Tesla breaks to the upside, it could very well come back up and retest this 174.73. Clearly, retest that 174.73. And let's see where on the 4 minute, which is kind of close. The 200 EMA on the 1 hour is right at the 173.16. So if we break the 172.26, we could very well come up to the 173.16, break that area. If we break that area, let's see where our next trouble of resistance is, or area of resistance. Let's say that it will be right here at the 4-hour ATR trailing stop, which is right at the 175 area. Let's see. 175.63. We can very well come back and test that 175.63. And if you look at Tesla, we are kind of like on a slope to the upside, but again, anything is possible. We still have trouble right here at the 172.86 also, and that's the 50 EMA on the 4-hour chart. So again, our areas of the gathering spot is the 171.37 or the 172.26. That's the area that we need to break above or break below in order to consider, trading. And always ask, okay, where are my trouble places? To the downside for Tesla, let's say we break the 171.37. If we break that, the 20 EMA is right there at the 171.50, right there on that line. So that's kind of close, right? In my opinion, that's kind of like strong support. So if we break that, we could continue down and test this 170.99 or this ATR trail and stop here at 170.71. So at this point, it's kind of like we really don't know. We wait and see, trade what you see, wait until the market tells you what it's trying to do. But right now, those are our levels of, trouble places for Tesla, or, support and or resistance, right? So let's go to NVDA. NVDA is, again, doing the exact same thing that the SPY is doing. So I have our levels of our gathering spot. Oh, we just made a pop. We must have had some news. Yep, we had some information that just came out. You see that pop that just came down. So our gathering spot was 862.68 to 865.39. And it looks like we have broke beyond that area. So this is where, I will be looking for a trade because we have broken out of that area of support, right? That's something to think about. And again, to the upside, which anything is possible, right? If we try to break this area of 865.39, we could very well come back up to the 874.11, or the next level of resistance will be at the 885.15. Is it doable? It is. However, it looks as if it's trying to go back to the downside based on the news that just came out. Let's go back to the 30-minute. Again, anything is possible. Looks like we found some support down there. That bounced, some buyers were there. That's why we see that wick there. So let's go to the 4-hour and see if we see another area of support. Okay. Yes, looking at this 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart, NVIDIA can come down to 829.05. That's something to watch if you trade NVIDIA. It looks as if there was a gap that needed to be filled at the 837.19 range, and that is doable, and that's a gap from 3.4. So that is doable. Let's keep that in mind if you trade NVIDIA today. So again, I always say trade what you see, and to the downside, it can come and find support at the 829.03 based on the 4-hour chart. And again, it was based on the news that just came out. It was trying to break out of this gathering spot. So I say trade carefully today. Trade very cautiously today. Make sure you have confirmation as to why you're entering your trades. And what I look for is the 5 and 50 crossing. Did my MACD cross? Am I making lower lows? Am I buying off of support? Am I buying off of the rejection of resistance? These are things that I look at when I'm entering my trades. And you can see NVIDIA, buyers were there to take that price back to the upside. Based on the news that just came out, I'm going to look at the SPY again just to see what it's doing. Yeah. It's kind of doing the same thing that NVIDIA just did. As you can see, it seemed like the charts look almost the same, right? So we broke out of the gathering spot only to come back down and SPY came back down to 512.51. That is something to remember, that 512.51, because we could very well come back and retest that area. I always say that, once it makes a low, something stopped that area. So I need to remember what stopped that, because it could very well come back down and test that area again. So I always make it a place to where I can remember that or be mindful of that. Let's say that, right? So we looked at Tesla, we looked at SPY, we looked at NVDA. AMD was interesting yesterday. It had a nice sell-off. So our gathering spot for AMD at this point is 167.37 being the support and 168.47 being the resistance. And it looks like we have some resistance ahead at the 20 EMA, which is at the 168.61, yeah. And then we have the ATR trailing stop at 169.53. We are breaking out of the gathering spot. Do you see how if we would have waited and entered the trade once we broke out of the gathering spot, that would have been a nice entry for a trade? Again, we will wait on other confirmations. So if you trade AMD, just be careful of how, making sure your entry is right. You're entering at the right time and exiting at the right time. That's very, very important. So where are trouble places for AMD? Because it dropped down so much on yesterday, where is our support? I don't see. I'll have to go and look at a previous candle for support. So right now that 165, I always do that, 165.13 is our support area, and you can see that right there. So something is holding AMD up at 165.13. Otherwise it would have continued going to the downside. And I always ask myself, what's holding this stock up? So something at that area is holding AMD up. So if we continue, to the downside, we need to watch the level of 165.13, because it can come back and retest that area. That's something to watch. So again, y'all, I would say very, very carefully, trade carefully today and pay attention to your charts. Don't rush into your trades. And yeah, today's going to be a great day. You can make money in either direction as long as your direction is the right direction. Let's say that, right? And yeah, today is Friday. If you trade options are a little bit cheaper today, same day, but just be careful. Time is not your friend if you're on the wrong side. Let me say that. So again, y'all, thank you so much for watching today. And yeah, I'm super, super excited. We can make money today, or we can learn today. And yeah, y'all, so listen, if you could please like, share, comment, subscribe, all of the good stuff that goes with that. But I wish everyone a wonderful, wonderful day today. And I always like to leave you with this. Y'all be blessed, as well as a blessing unto others. Until next time.